Constellations, okay? The other day I walked outside. I was listening to some music and I wanted to look at the stars. And when I was expecting to see a beautifully lit, full of stars sky, and see all the beautiful constellations there are in our sky, I was met with the reality, which was a gray, light polluted sky with very few visible stars. Pretty disappointing. And unfortunately for most of us, this is probably what the sky looks like at night. And the only noticeable constellation that I could see was the Big Dipper. And I thought, how unfortunate is that? That when I want to be filled with whimsy and existential dread and look at all these cool things, essentially what I can see is just that of a glorified big spoon. And I remember thinking, are all constellations this lame? And at the time, I could only really think of the Big Dipper and Orion's Belt. And I was like, yeah, those are pretty stupid. And so I decided to do some research. All right, so a little bit of history on the subject. Currently, there are 88 constellations recognized by astronomers. 48 of those originated in ancient Greece, and currently they have no scientific significance other than helping astronomers pinpoint locations in the sky, because saying, look at Arandanus's butt is better than saying, look at star number 1,843,600,213. However, back in the day, they were pretty useful because they were basically a giant clock to help know what time of year it was. There's this dude Hesiod who basically wrote a bunch of poems, and they acted as a farmer's almanac, which historians argued that they helped farmers know when to plant crops as well as avoid bad harvests. There's Hesiod right there. Cool dude. Thanks for doing that. Stonehenge and the pyramids in Mexico, Chichen Itza, also provided accurate systems for determining celestial events. So clearly, they were pretty important to us, considering we defied physics to build Stonehenge and move those giant-ass stones way back then. The constellations represent several things, from deities and heroes, part of Greek lore, such as Hercules and Orion, as well as mythical creatures like Draco, Hydra, and Cetus. There are 42 animals and 29 objects. Interestingly, the Big Dipper, which I said was a constellation 2 minutes ago, is actually not a constellation. It's an asterism, which is like a constellation, but not. It's just think Pluto is to planets what asterisms are to constellations. I think that could be wrong, but they're basically just smaller and easier to find constellations of the sky that are part of a bigger thing. So Big Dipper is a part of the Big Bear constellation. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'll put it up here though. All right, lame constellations. Now, I've gone through and pinpointed what I can say are the lamest, most kind of unoriginal and boring constellations in the sky, because there's 88 of them. Some are pretty cool, but there's also a lot of pretty stupid ones. And I can't really rip on the Big Dipper anymore because it's not a constellation. So here are some real constellations that are just kind of meh, right? So first one is Antlia, which is an air pump. I don't know why we thought to add that. Calum, a chisel. We have Circinus or Circinus, which is a compass. Coma Berenices, which is hair. Pictor, which is an easel. And this is the thing. However, the lamest constellation by far, and this one actually makes me a little bit mad, is Triangulum, which is literally just a triangle. I think it's lazy, but what's even more frustrating is there's a worse one, right? And I know what you're thinking. Is it Dot? Is it the Dot constellation? Is it the constellation that's a single star? No, it's Triangle Austral, which is Southern Triangle. Because someone thought, you want to know what our sky is lacking? Triangles. Let's add another one on the opposite side. Stupid. I don't like it. All right, so we've gone over the lame constellations, so let's talk a little bit about the cool constellations, right? My personal favorites were Capricornus, which is a sea goat, Cetus, which is a sea monster. We have Hydra, which is the multi-headed water snake, specifically the one that was slain by Hercules. That's pretty badass. That's a cool constellation. Sagittaea, I like this one because it is just an arrow. However, the story behind it's interesting because it's the arrow used by Apollo to kill Cyclops. It's got some significance to it, stories. That's what I like to see. When I think constellations, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Cool ancient things with stories behind them, make you think, make you wondrous, existential dread, all of that. These are good ones. Okay, the next thing that I want to go over is accurate versus non-accurate constellations. Now, you may have seen jokes about how star structures look nothing like the constellations that they're depicting, which is true to a degree. For example, like the one episode of South Park, shout out that. One that really kind of made me mad was these two. So we have Canis venatici, which is the two hunting dogs of Boots. And then next to it, we have Canis minor. And the thing about these is that the first one, Canis venatici, is the two hunting dogs of Boots, which would be fine if the idea was one star, one dog, right? It makes sense. Okay, that's a dog and that's a dog. But the thing is, the Canis minor is Orion's lesser hunting dog, which makes less sense because that's both stars. Both the stars are one dog, and there's no Canis major constellation. No. Hi, Future Roman here, and I'm here to blow up him for spreading misinformation. There is a Canis major, and it's this guy right here. Now, I acknowledge that there is still some inconsistency issues, considering the fact that Canis venatici is 1 star, 1 dog, 1 star, 1 dog, and Canis minor is 2 stars, 1 dog. I understand that everybody wants to be their own unique person, but I do think it would still be cool if they combined the Canis major constellation and the Canis minor constellation into one with the 1 star, 1 dog type thing. But it is what it is. I'm going to rematerialize him and wipe his memory so he can continue the rest of the video, though. There's also there's a few constellations that are just like 3-star patterns, basically just 3 stars in different arrangements that just kind of they're a stretch, right? They don't really depict what they're like. You can maybe kind of see it, but they all kind of just go in that. And then there's also some that are just very similar, like almost identical, that depict different things. It's kind of lazy, just change it up a little bit so each one's original. There's only 88 of them, and there's a billion stars out there. It's not like it can be that hard to make it an original star structure, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. But again, I will give credit where credit is due. Some of these constellations, I can see the resemblance, right? For example, Gemini, that's the mythical twins Castor and Pollux. And, there they are. They're standing there. They're holding hands. How cute. Eridanus, mythical river. Look at how it flows, right? It looks kind of like a river. Grus, which is a crane. Dorado, a swordfish. Draco, dragon that guards the golden apple tree. And Centaurus, which is a wise centaur. With all of these, they represent to it a pretty well degree what they're depicting. You can see it, right? And they're pretty cool too. So more of these. We want more of that. Now, considering I'm talking about stars and astrology and all that, I think it's only fair that I briefly mention the zodiac signs and people who believe in all that bullshit. Don't worry, I just did some Molly off screen, so I've got it this time. All right. While researching this, what I found interesting was not only do constellations tell us a story of deities and heroes and ancient folklore, but it's like a lens into the past of ancient pop culture. As much as I've ripped on the constellations, the chisel, the air pump, and the compass, this guy, Nicolas Louis de Lacaille, was the one who made those. And those were actually the most recent constellations added. And the reason they were added was because they were current technological advancements of the time. So he sort of cemented a part of our of humans' development in the stars, which I think is pretty cool. And I think it's only fair that we update the constellations every so often to keep that trend going. Considering it's been 300 years since we last updated, allow me to give some suggestions. So I have gone ahead and actually mapped out a few of these new star structures. I sort of piggybacked on some of the other constellations because they're a little easier to pinpoint. I wouldn't mind finding some others and moving them around, but I wanted to stick to the kind of culture of using folklore tales, famous stories and whatnot, technological advancements. I wanted to stay within that group, and so first one we've got is Heisenberg. Very famous folklore tale about a guy who sold meth. That would be a fun one, I think. There's a lot of animals in the sky, a lot of animal constellations, and I thought what's a popular one we could add up there. So Mudang, the Mudang constellation, I think that would be a good one too. Um, Technological advancements, I thought, what represents us good, what's going to kind of stick around for years to come. If we put the iPhone 14 up there, or whatever, the iPhone 17 up there, in 2 years it's going to be obsolete. So middle finger emoji, I think that would be a good one. I think that's funny. I think that's good. um, some other ones as well that I haven't made star things for. Maybe I will. But more just honorable mentions. I thought jingling keys would be a good one. For a lot of us with short attention spans, looking at the night sky without scrolling through TikTok or Instagram Reels seems like a daunting task. So that way we can keep our attention. We could replace it with Subway Surfers constellation. That would be a good one too. Now this one is maybe a little controversial, but one of my favorite constellations was Sagittaria, which is the arrow used by Apollo to kill Cyclops, and I wanted to do something like that. So the bullet the bullet used to slay Osama bin Laden. I like that one. That's pretty dumb. Moving on. Yeah, but I'm curious to know what you guys think we should add to the night sky. What are some good constellations to put up there? And yeah, in the modern world, it can be difficult to feel a sense of wonder. When was the last time that you went and just stared at the stars and wondered, or wondered about anything for that matter? If it's been a while, maybe try to find the time to do it. I know it's hard with modern life, and if you're in a more densely populated area like myself, it can be tedious to have to drive really far out just to get a good look at the stars. I went camping about a month ago, and we were in a really secluded area, and we got to see all the stars and like the Milky Way, and it was kind of a cool, eye-opening experience because they're all there all the time, and you just can never see them. It was a cool thing. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe. This is my first YouTube video. I'll probably just upload more things that I think are funny or whatever. So, stick around. Maybe it gets good. Maybe it gets better. But until the next video, thank you for watching. I'm Roman Noodles. Bye-bye.